Okay, got some post commentary, some just random Elden Ring gameplay that I recorded today. I didn't get much sleep. I was testing stuff out with my cat, sleeping inside. New cat, first cat for me. New cat owner, all that good stuff. She's wonderful, about her being so cool. But this is about Elden Ring, the DLC. What is going to be in it? Well, almost certainly. I think mechanically there are some really good gaps that have to be filled. And I think just judging by the name of it, Shadow of the Erd Tree, and also the image, the teaser image, it's like, oh, what is it? Oh, it's looks like a Deathblight tree choking out the Erd Tree. And then we got somebody that's almost certainly Mikola. It's like, oh, well, we got a Golden Order and Deathblight scenario going on. So probably a lot of Int Faith shenanigans. We don't have an Int Faith infusion. We don't really have much Int Faith support outside of the Sword of Night and Flame. I've got myself an Int Faith build going on here. I love that Golden Vow is on his dead body there. It's so funny. But yeah, watch me just flail about trying to deal with this Eleonora, just not trying, limited amount of sleep. Anyway, I think there's going to be Int Faith weapons, just somber scaling Int Faith weapons. I think there's going to be a Int Faith wet blade. You know how we have like the Iron wet blade and the Red Hot wet blade, the Sanctified wet blade, and Glintstone wet blade, Black wet blade, all these things that add infusions that we can add. I don't know how that knocked me forward. So weird. I don't know how did that even, whatever, you know what, whatever, not important. I think that we could get a Int Faith wet blade that has 3 different types of Int Faith. I think we could have Golden Order, that's another holy one. We could have a volcanic or magma wet blade, which is, you know, I have the Gilmer's Glintstone staff right now. Magma sources are Int Faith. It's like, oh, Int Faith, boom. Add a wet blade, have some fire, very cool. And then Death Sorcery, or just Death Blight infused maybe. It could have like a little bit of Frostbite, not as much as a Cold Infusion, you know what I'm saying? But still some magic damage and Int Faith scaling. Now, these gotta be balanced. They gotta do good damage. My build right now, I did the calculations compared to stats like this versus stats in like a Purient build. So all the stats that I have split into Faith that I'm not scaling weapon with, when I do Cold Infusion or Magic Infusion more likely, I'm losing about 50 AR at a plus 25 Zwei. I'm not using the plus 25 Zwei, nor do I have max stats, but still, you know, I'd like to have those 50 AR. That would be great. And having it in Faith, having that versatility, Magic Holy Fire would be fantastic. That would also make just the Int Faith progression a lot better, because Int Faith progression through the game is hella painful. Oh god, the stats are so split. It only makes things kind of interesting to progress, because I know where all of the little spots are to get some easy runes. You know, killing Grail with Bleed, taking out the Knights Cavalry with Cheese, getting all these runes here. I always kill the Putrid Avatar for the Stone Barbed Cracked Crystal Tier earlier, and that gives 92k runes. Once I have a plus 11 weapon as my main smithing weapon, I go kill Blackblade Kindred, that's a ton of runes as well. I also go kill Grail, Flying Dragon Grail. So, just a ton of early runes. And that is how I have a satisfying Int Faith build progression. But it's just not good enough. So what I think is that if we're going to have Int Faith weapons and stuff scattered throughout the game, it would be a lot better. And I know that DLCs can add stuff. Look at that guy. How did he get up there? Int Faith stuff can be added into the earlier game. They have made patches that have changed and added things before. So I think, you know, because of all the balance patch history, we could have some scaling and things change. I'm getting ahead of myself, though. This DLC It might be like the Ashes of Ariandel DLC, where you could go in early, and your stats you could make do in the mid-game stats, but it was intended for end-game stats. So you can go in really early and make some death runs if you really want to, and get maybe some good items. Like I always go grab the Ethereal Oak Shield early. That's an amazing time. I think maybe we go and grab the In-Faith Whetstone early, because right now in my runs, I go to Red Maiden Castle pretty early, and I get the Red Hot Whetblade, and that's fantastic. I love getting that early. I get it before the Iron Whetblade sometimes, just because it's super convenient to go grab. I love doing Red Maiden Castle like that. A lot of fun. However, this Whetblade has to be balanced. It has to be balanced with, well, every other Whetblade infusion that we have right now, except for quality. And here's when I suggest that quality infusion also should be rebalanced. Right now, it's only until about the end game, the way the stats spreads go, where the quality infusion is really good. That's it, towards the end game. And so all this progression, it's like, what am I going to do for infusions? I'm just going to infuse strength, or I'm going to infuse dex. Whichever one you decide to focus for, because the damage is just that much different. It's like, well, it's still all physical regardless, so why would I go one or the other? So, when you have a In-Faith infusion that's magic, fire, or holy, it has to align correctly at the same level with, damage-wise, the magic infusion, cold infusion, with sacred and flame art and fire infusions. It all has to balance out correctly. So rebalance quality infusion to balance out with strength and dex with the same stat investment, and also make the In-Faith the same way. I also think that more blood flame support should happen, and we should get maybe an interesting new arcane Whetblade as well, because this DLC should be really, really large. So I expect 2 Whetblades worth of areas, 2 giant legacy dungeons and stuff worth of areas. There's enough space on the map for that to be the case. Looks like we're going to an alternate area. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Considering how Miklo was influenced by Moog, that horrible cocoon form that he's currently in, I think we could see some blood flame shenanigans going on. Same sort of progression with In-Faith being kind of painful due to the lack of things and infusions that scale well. I think this could be the same way with blood flame. Specifically for a Faith Arcane build. Faith Arcane, it's like, okay, well, at least I get my Dragon Communion Seal early, but everything else is kind of painful, and I'm lagging behind majorly on damage because my stats are split. I think the same situation, being able to make a death run early on, or go into mid-game if you're exceptionally skilled, and go grab yourself a new Arcane Whetblade, that doesn't just have the the Arcane Faith infusion, maybe a Blood Flame infusion with like less bleed than the Blood infusion, but with a little bit of fire and maybe less fire damage, kind of like a cold version, like a bleed version, but for cold, kind of. Maybe with the same amount of cold as like the Death Blight infusion, so it's not too strong, you know what I'm saying? That way it would be balanced. I think not only that one would be on this Whetblade, because usually we get multiple on each one. I think an Int Arcane infusion would also be incredible. Maybe like a Steam infused or Bubble. I think Bubble is going to be too pacifying sounding. It's like, oh, I'm going to smack you with my Bubbles eye. It just deals a million damage. No, but these infusions I hope are balanced relative to, again, stats. Same thing that I said about the In-Faith. It's got to be balanced right, and the quality's got to be balanced up to match. Even stat values with dex, strength, arcane, what have, etc., etc. So Int Arcane right now, it's like so lacking. It's like the most painful thing. You have the Albinaric staff, and that's in Volcano Manor, and that's it. That's like all you have. And you have the bubble spells, but those aren't very good. Again, more of that. I think we'll get more of that. I think we'll get more death sorceries and golden order incantations and magma sorceries, more bubble sorceries. Maybe they'll balance out the bubble sorceries that we already have. That would be fantastic. More blood flame incantations would be really cool as well. The ones that we have now, again, are scattered throughout the mid and end game. Kind of silly. I also think that we might have more Thorn support, which is interesting. So right now, Thorn sorceries are kind of a mess because they're sorceries. And a lot of other sorceries, well, of course, int. They're all int. So you have 2 Thorn sorceries. If you want to be able to cast more things, you have to level up int. But the Staff of the Guilty, that buffs Thorn sorceries, scales off faith. Oh, but the Thorn sorceries, or aberrant sorceries, I think they're called, technically, well, they deal bleed. They build up bleed. And what does that mean? It means they're buffed by the arcane stat. They build up more blood loss and get hemorrhage faster the more arcane that you have. And it's all over the place. It's like, okay, well, I guess I'll just run faith then. Take my Staff of the Guilties where my aberrant set. And I think that the game could do a lot well in this regard, in buffing up these very niche but very cool options, if it kind of just took them seriously with this DLC. And again, I think it's almost certainly going to be the case that we get more Thorn support, in addition to all of the things that I mentioned, save for Quality Infusion balance. I think it's possible that Quality Infusion still gets the shaft after all this time, because you get the Black Wet Blade after Radon, and that's kind of the same situation as like, oh, the Quality Infusion being relevant later and later in the game. Most arcane custom Escher War weapons are relevant later and later in the game, post Radon. So they could be going that route. It's like, oh, well, at least it's balanced in at some point in the game. Maybe we're gonna have that early game be screwed from us. I really don't want it to be the case. I think we should just have a lovely game experience throughout the entire game and enjoy a smooth progression throughout the entire game, like so many other basic infusions and basic builds. Now, I think there are some weapon classes that are a little bit lacking that we're almost certainly going to get more of. I know that we're going to get more of, like, I want to say almost every type of weapon, right? It's like a lot. We're going to get a lot. But I think specifically there aren't very many heavy thrusting swords. Twin blades, my favorite weapon class. I love twin blades. Flails, maybe they buff flails too, hopefully. Again, I know. Flails, yes, more flails probably. Please, buff them too. Reapers, so your sides. We only have like 4 of those now. More of those would be really cool. It would also fit, like, if we got like a Death Blight in Faith scythe, how cool would that be? Like, come on, son. Whips, maybe if we get a proper Thorn sorcery style whip or something like that, that would be really cool. And then a whole slew of categories that I like to call anti-bird technology, which is really just non-magic based range tools that, well, I use to mainly kill birds and shit from range. So, short bows, regular bows, great bows, hand ballistas, or just giant crossbows and such. The regular crossbows too. All that stuff. Very good. I think we're going to get more in each category just because there's pretty limited amounts in each of those categories. Personal favorite, jar cannon. What's not to love? I love the jar cannon. Excellent. Maybe more stuff like that though. Maybe. Would be really cool to see. Alright, now I have much more personal interests. That's all the stuff that I think is pretty likely to happen, save for the quality infusion balance. I think this is all what I would really like at a personal level that might not actually be in the game. Pretty unlikely in the DLC. So more infeasible gear with unique scaling / and/or elements. So I'm thinking it's not the Clean Rot Spear, it's the Clayman's Harpoon and the Erd Steel Dagger. Both of these things are elemental, one of them being magic, one of them being sacred. They can be infused and buffed those things, really cool. They got unique scaling already, int and faith respectively. Oh boy, more stuff like that. Arcane, int faith, again, all this stuff, I would love that. I would think that was so good. Right now I don't really use those things. I did use them in the past and I got my enjoyment out of them, but I find them a little bit lacking, and it's like Clayman's Harpoon and PvP, Double Frost, Clayman's Harpoon, pretty spicy, pretty cool. Not as much anymore because of the way that 1.10 changed things, but still not bad. Pretty stylish. I love the way that it looks. More stuff like that would just be mechanically satisfying. I love all this customization. I love being able to double up on elements and really experiment in that way. So more stuff like that, stuff for that, like Arcane and such. All the splits, that would be excellent. Now, here's where everybody's just gonna agree. More trick weapon-esque gear like the Ornamental Straight Sword. So the Ornamental Straight Sword, or Ornamental Straight Swords, paired weapon, it has a interesting Ash of War that changes the moveset quite a bit. It kind of splits between dual straight swords and also a dual thrusting sword moveset, which is super cool. I love the flexibility there. I love how it shifts around with this moveset, the versatility, the uniqueness of it. It's pretty good actually as well once you infuse it up and get all of your, once you get all of your talismans and such for rapid hits, like Rotten Winged Sword Talisman and Hand of Millennium and stuff like that. One or the other usually in a single playthrough, but you get the idea. Thorny, Cracked, Crystal Tears, stuff like that. It's just really nice. It's lovely, lovely, stylish weapon. And if we had more gear that was still quite good, but also just as stylish and flexible in the DLC, everybody would love it. Everybody would love it. We kind of got cock-teased a little bit by the Mantis Blade. It's like, oh, it's a weapon that can change its form with this slow-ass attack in a single move. Wow. Terrible, okay? It's just, it's a terrible Easter egg. And just honestly, just go the route of the Ornamental Straight Swords. That would be wonderful. Having that flexible, fun aspect. Gamers love it. I love it. Now, again, a lot of people, y'all y'all DS3 enjoyers, you know what I'm talking about. I didn't realize what you were saying for a long time, okay? And then I picked up the Claymore recently. I said, how am I going to kill dragons with an easy charge R2 method? How am I going to get that stance broke, satisfying, dealing big boy damage, so that I can leave things on my other side of that build, maybe casting or what have you? How am I going to get that pierce damage? Oh, the Claymore R2. Maybe I'll do that. And I experimented for the first time after all these years with the Claymore. It's amazing. But you know what would be even more amazing? A great sword with the Hollow Slayer Greatsword moveset. In totality. Basically, the Knight's Greatsword and Banished Knight's Greatsword moveset normally, but with the thrusting R2 that the Claymore has. Please. Please. I don't care. Give it to the Inseparable Greatsword or something. I don't know. Something. You can even change a current weapon to have these properties and the moveset. But I understand completely when people were so up in arms that a Greatsword didn't have that moveset. I understand completely the amount of love for Lucatiel and her lovely Hollow Slayer in Dark Souls 3. I completely understand it now. Me being a Pyromancer main in that game and loving to try to kill the Dancer early to get Winged Knight Twin Axes early and that sort of shenanigans. I was a sweaty dark build gamer in Pyromancer in that game. But wow, considering stance breaks, considering all the buffs to charge attacks, oh yeah, Claymore, yeah, I just brought it out in this recording. Yeah man, Claymore, love it. Slap it on every build now. So much fun. And having a Hollow Slayer type weapon, please. We already have so many great swords. I understand. We have so many great swords. Just one. Please. And make it good. I mean, it's already going to be good, most likely, but make it good. Next, base game gear changes. I don't think this is going to happen. They've done some stuff in the past. Maybe they can fix some stuff up now. We'll see. Oh, did I just call the Zwei the Claymore? I haven't been paying too much attention to the recording. I also have my notes up ready. I love the Zwei. I love the Claymore. Give me the Hollow Slayer thing. Give me. Base game gear changed. Death's Poker, make it in face scaling. I don't know why it's just in scaling. Should be in face scaling. It's Deathblight. Death Sorceries. Death Sorceries usually. Well, it's not Deathblight, but Death Sorceries, again, in Faith. Why isn't it in Faith? I don't know. It should be. Inseparable Sword. Golden Order. This branch of the Golden Order is in Faith. Why isn't the Inseparable Sword in Faith? I don't know. Make it in Faith, and also give it a unique / buffed skill. It shouldn't just be regular old Sacred Blade. That is ridiculous. A quest weapon that looks so good. Also, give it that, maybe that one can be the Hollow Slayer type because it's so cool and you get it as a quest reward. You know what I'm saying. Please, just make it in Faith, make it better. Helfen's Steeple. Again, make it in Faith scaling. All this stuff fits with the apparent theme of Shadow of the Erdtree, so make it in Faith scaling. Would love that. Would love it. Again, it's just another Death Sorcery type of Ghost Flame weapon, so yeah. Death Ritual Spear, you already know what I'm going to say. Make it in Faith scaling, same sort of deal. It's another one of those type of things. Now here I have some more that I think people will agree with. Just tiny pet peeves of mine for different types of gear that might not be as thematic for the Shadow of the Erdtree, but I think are just silly the way they are now. Monk's Flame Blade and Flame Mace. Why don't they have any base fire damage, or at the very least faith scaling? They're just regular, not very good weapons. It's like, oh, well, they have low requirements. They're not very good. They're really not very good. It's like, I already want at least a little bit higher levels in strength and dex so that I can wield some of these very powerful weapons. And I have the stats for PvE exclusive gamer at semi-casually. I'm going level 150. I have the stats. It's still going to be really tight for making builds. I have plenty of builds that specifically so tight I have to start with the correct starting class or else I won't meet that 150 mark. It's tight. It can be real tight sometimes. So I still have enough room, even though it's pretty tight, to meet those strength and dex requirements to have a Zwei on my Death Sorcery build. I still have enough to take to bust out Twinned Knight Swords because I just love Twin Blades that much. And then it covers extra things like Pulley Crossbow, which is just incredible for building up Rot or Poison. At which point, I can have Mushroom Crown, and I have just enough stam to wield and wear all of this stuff without fat rolling. It's like it's all very, very specific, very specific, and I don't have to settle for the Monk's Flame Blade or Flame Mace. So just buff them up. Make them more thematically appropriate. Make them make sense. I don't know why it's just physical. It's goofy. Fix it. The Dragon Great Claw. This lovely quality lightning colossal weapon. Colossal weapons were inadvertently buffed in patch 1.10 for PvP and PvE. Especially in PvE. You know why? It's because critical hits were buffed. They weren't as good before. Well, colossal hits that couldn't really get the R2 chains in, like other weapons, and then also they don't have DPS to go with it. They're big chunking weapons. They benefit off of taking the critical hit. Well, it wasn't that good, but it was buffed. So all colossal weapons, colossal swords, they were buffed in patch 1.10. But what about the aim punch? Hey, that also was fixed, mostly, in patch 1.10. And because of that, colossal weapons and swords are a lot better now. So I've been eyeing a quality build. I've been eyeing that Dragon Great Claw. Why does it have Endure? Give it a Dragon Lightning skill. Give it something unique. Why does it have Endure? I know that most of the time I'm going to be perfectly fine not using any skill. I'm just not going to use Endure at all. Maybe every once in a while, and I'll still make great use of it because I know how to get the most out of such a weapon class. But it should have something. Like look at it. Look at all the abilities of the Draconic Tree Sentinel and tell me that it shouldn't have something cool. Of course it should. It should not have Endure. It's ridiculous. The Troll's Hammer. Why does it just have Troll's Roar? That should also have a unique skill. Maybe the Troll's Roar should be special in that it's like a fire AoE. It's like, you slam and roar, and there's just fire around you. I think that would be great. That would be, again, another colossal weapon. This one time, this one has a little bit shorter range even so. And that should have a unique skill as well. Let's talk about yet another colossal weapon. And this one got some love. And this is why I know that they can go fiddle around with the scaling. Because they fiddled around with the Great Club, the giant turkey leg. Yes, they gave it faith scaling. And it deserved it because of the lore. But it just has Golden Land. And I think, honestly, if it's going to be buffable, it should also be infusible. Or give it a better unique skill than just Golden Land. I understand Golden Land's pretty cool. It's got an R2 follow-up. It has a little bit of healing. The projectiles are not bad. They deal decent damage. But holy, not the best damage type. It's just good here and there. Good on plenty of mobs. But there are a lot of bosses, especially towards the late game, that resist holy. Now you're going to have a lot of variety when it comes to these builds, that strength, faith. You're going to have some variety. So you're going to be able to use different type of weapon and this and that. But even so, I feel like being able to infuse that thing with maybe a fire infusion, that would be so cool. Kind of getting that feel of the Burning Erd Tree kind of deal, Be like almost foreshadowing. It's like, I can infuse this fire? Isn't it supposed to be the Erd Tree? And then you start to burn it later in the game, and it's like, oh shit, that's cool. You know what I mean? That would be cool in an interesting lore story type of way. Really personal buffs now. The Partisan and the Torch Pole. Please just buff those. Why did they get rid of the faith scaling from the Torch Pole? Buff it. Make it better. They're so silly. These weapons, one of the weapons of all time. Now, I'm going to explain that. I didn't say best. They're just weapons. They are a weapon. That's silly. They're so bad, and they should not be so bad. Buff them up. Make them better. They look amazing. They should be a little bit better than they are. Especially the Partisan. I saw that charge R2. I was like, oh my god, Dark Souls 3 moment. It looks gorgeous. Partisan looks the best it's ever been. I love farming it from the Godric Knight outside of the Gatefront Ruins. Wow, so bad. I tried to fight Radahn with it. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get my charged R2s and then I'm going to hit him with the blood tax on my arcane build. He just would not stagger. I was Dougieing on Radahn, and he would not stagger. And I realized that the Partisan is just incredibly undertuned. It's not very good, and it should be better. Buff the Partisan, buff the Torch Pole. Again, Torch Pole, such a meme weapon. Shouldn't be a meme weapon. Should be a little bit better. Should be cool. Should have a much better unique skill, in my opinion. Yeah, should be better. Next thing, Demi-Human Queen Staff and Digger Staff scaling. That should be fixed for sorceries. Clawmark Seal functions for incantations so that it takes your strength into account while scaling. The Demi-Human Queen Staff and the Digger Staff don't take strength into account for sorcery scaling. No, they take strength into account for physical attacks with the weapon. That's ridiculous. Fix it. You'd never be able to convince me that that's intended. Fix it up. I want my strength builds rocking. Now they're already rocking because the Ruins Greatsword is just such a lovely weapon. Again, enjoying that 1.10 patch changes. Love the Ruins Greatsword. One of my favorite weapons now. But I've been using this Demi-Human Queen staff and it sucks ass. Sucks royal ass when it should not with the stats that I have. And the scaling is just lying to you when it shouldn't be. Now, next thing. Dragon Scale Blade and Dragon Halberd. They should be made Faith scaling. Ice Lightning Spear, that's Faith scaling. But the Dragon Scale Blade and Dragon Halberd aren't. They're just quality build shifted one way or the other. That's nonsense. Making a Ice Lightning build, dedicated build, is not very good. And you know, I think maybe there should be more Ice Lightning support on top of that. That would be cool. Maybe not a Ice Lightning infusion, considering that with my Death Blight infusion there would be 2 Frostbite infusions already. But I think expanding on this really cool, really aesthetic concept would be sick. And making it all cohesive into one build that's not stats spread out way thin would be much, much better. And it's definitely possible in the DLC. Next thing, Darkmoon Greatsword buffed. Buff it up. Is it already pretty good? Yes, it is. We shouldn't be just saying it's pretty good. It's the Moonlight damn Greatsword. In Bloodborne, it was phenomenal. In Dark Souls 3, it was meh. Shouldn't have been meh. Should have been fantastic. Just like in Bloodborne. Same thing in Elden Ring. In Elden Ring, it's much better than Dark Souls 3. It ain't Bloodborne tier. Make it better. I don't care. Make it faster. Just make it, instead of it being a large wind-up with the R2s when you have the Ash of War active, make it faster. Make it better. It's iconic. It should be powerful. It should be Bloodborne tier. Bloodborne, it was an S tier weapon. It's a mid-tier weapon now. It should be S tier. You know? Next, Carrying Retaliation spells should be able to parry attacks as well as, Tibia summons buffed. Carrying Retaliation should be able to parry attacks. That's classic, okay? The parry on the shield does it. It would be really cool to be able to parry with your staff, with a little bit of magic. It makes sense. You're still able to, move attacks out of the way in real life if you have a staff. Makes sense. Slap some magic on it, why not? Just seems ridiculous. It's like, of course I'm just going to use the Ash of War on a shield then. Make a quick little swap. But I don't have to necessarily make a quick little swap if it works that way, and I think it would be so satisfying if it worked in that way. Tibia summons buffed. This is just a very sad death sorcery that doesn't deserve to be as sad as it is, especially considering the requirements are so high. Buff it up. Just make it much faster. Make the skeletons spawn in quick, and then 3 of them. Boom, big damage. Satisfying. Right now, it's cool. It's neuron activating. It's not very good at all. Now, those are the end of my wishful thinking. I don't think any of those wishful thinking things are going to be changed. I think that they could be changed. I think the basic predictions are almost certain to get into the game, but the things that I just mentioned, I doubt it. However, I have 2 pie-in-the-sky additions, or changes that I should rather say. And these changes, number 1, better boss patterns. What do I mean by that? Less stupid RNG. It's ridiculous. The boss pattern RNG in these Souls games is absurd. And because they have so many attacks in Elden Ring, it is egregious in this game. I could go, fight a boss, struggle, and play well, and learn its patterns, and have the quintessential Souls experience, and be loving life. And you know what happens? The boss pulls out of its ass a new attack that I haven't seen in maybe 30 attempts watching 1,000 attacks from this guy. he pulls out a new attack. Where the fuck did that come from? You're telling me the RNG, the patterns for these bosses aren't set up so that I'm gonna see that when I get the boss to like 10% HP? Where the fuck does that come from? And then I keep playing the boss, and there's 5 new ones as well. 5 more new attacks. This happened to Moog, with me to Moog, by the way. I was doing a challenge run and I fought Moog probably 50 times at low weapon upgrade level. I was like, where are you pulling these variations from? I think, I put in like several hours into the fight, and it's like, I thought I had mastered it in a Souls type of way. Like every other boss, like every other Souls experience. No. Here's some new attacks that he pulls out of his ass. And now that I've played hours of Moog, now on my subsequent runs, I'm like, Moog, he's so satisfying to fight. He's so fun to fight. It only took me a whole ass challenge run and hours and dozens of attempts to make it so. It only took me longer than any average gamer is going to get for me to not only enjoy his RNG, but to have seen all of his RNG in the first place. What a joke. And it'll go the other way just as easily. I'm fighting Malekith. I'm enjoying him. I get to my 3rd attempt. He uses only the easiest moves and I shred his ass. And I kill him. Super unsatisfyingly. Oh, he's dead. Oh, he's dead now. Oh, same thing with Radon on my 2nd playthrough. Oh, he's just dead now. 2nd try. Oh, he's just dead. He just gave me all the easy moves. And he died. I don't feel satisfied. I don't feel rewarded. I don't feel like I've gotten a good story to tell. I assume that's why the RNG is the way it is. Because Miyazaki's like, you're going to talk to your friends and your fellow gamers, and you're going to have different stories to tell. Nah, bitch, we got video evidence now. People are dissecting this shit to an absurd degree. We know better. The boss patterns as they are just prone, with the shit RNG, to give people an unsatisfying experience, whether it be difficult or extremely easy. Everybody is prone and purely capable of getting immensely unsatisfying experiences with all of these very complicated bosses. And all it requires is slightly better boss patterns and tighter RNG. Okay? If the boss has a special attack, show the special attack. Make him do it. Melania, Waterfowl Dance. You're almost guaranteed going to see it. You know what I didn't see on my first fucking playthrough? I didn't see her Sisters of Aeonia attack, or the Ghosts of Aeonia, where she flies up into the air in phase 2, and she shoots down all of these rot clones of herself. I didn't see that on my first playthrough. You know why? Because I fucking killed her, because she gave me good RNG. I missed out on that cool experience. I didn't get to see it. That's fucked up. My first experience with Melania is tarnished. Pun fucking intended. Because of these shitty boss RNG patterns. And they have to be fixed to ensure good game feel and good game experience for your average gamer. We are going to fucking lose gamers as soon as they figure this shit out. As soon as they figure out, hold on here. You're telling me that any of these bosses with big combo flowcharts and such, I could miss out on, or I could smurf? You're telling me that my experience trying to master this game and overcome challenge has actually been heavily dictated by RNG this entire time? Fuck that shit. And we're going to lose gamers. We're going to lose sections of the player base on subsequent games. We just are. Because this overcoming challenge style of game that Miyazaki wanted to be is being tainted. It's being tainted by this trash boss RNG. And it's gotta be fixed. Do I think they'll do it in this DLC? I fucking doubt it. It's a pie in the sky change for a reason. Second pie in the change. Second pie in the sky, change. Add a stance meter just like Sekiro. Make it look better than Sekiro's. I don't like the way that Sekiro's looks personally. I know most people do. I'm an outlier. Make it look a little better, you know? But it's got to be added for clarity, so that we can really strategize and be skillful during a boss fight. And so that we also know when bosses are doing weird attacks where they ignore being stance broken, add in a little signifier that they're doing that they're like immune to being stance broken while they're doing certain things. That would be cool as well. Also add status meters for status effects, so that we know and can plan things and be skillful and plan accordingly and react and make good, appropriate decisions during the heat of the moment. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys some other time. Bye!